Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast with your hosts George Tsounyas
and Maria Petrakou. Now I'm hoping you can hear the enthusiasm because I've just told George he didn't sound enthusiastic enough on the recording. So hopefully you can hear the enthusiasm in his voice now on take 2. So in today's episode we're going to explore winter in Greece. Sorry guys, summer's over, or nearly, because I'm hearing that Greece is still a bit warm. But we want to give you some ideas for where you can go to Greece in the winter, which in close proximity have places where you can go skiing. But you don't necessarily have to go skiing. I mean, I'm not a winter sports person, but I have visited a few of the places that we're going to mention on today's episode. So I can definitely vouch that you can visit these places even if you don't plan to ski. And of course, I can vouch for the food.
You could always vouch for the food. Hopefully when we listen to this back, you'll be just as enthusiastic as I sound. We don't know until the edit comes out. But a lot of people, when I say that you can do winter activities in Greece, look at me like, really? There's snow in Greece in the winter? And yes, there is. But it's not just for the people that appreciate snow. It's an all-round winter destination as well. However, before we dive into this episode, we say it every time, but I'm going to say it again. If you're not following us on Instagram or TikTok at the My Greek Island handle, you need to stop what you're doing and head over now and hit that follow button. And also, don't forget to check out the website, mygreekis.land,
Well done.
where Maria writes some really good blog posts for you to read.
Oh, thanks, hon.
And inspire you.
Yeah. And also, if you enjoyed the podcast, head over and give us a rating and or maybe a review on the podcast platform of your choice, and share the love, people. Share the podcast with one friend. That does help us keep coming back with more content.
Yeah, exactly. And if everyone shared it with just one person, I mean, our listeners would, I don't know, you're a mathematician, but it would go up by, I don't know, however much. I don't know. It sounded good in my head before I said it, and I was like, I'm not going to get in the maths thing. But I think that's time to start the episode. So let's get into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts George and Maria.
So today, we are talking about some destinations in Greece where you can visit to go skiing. Yes, as I said in the intro, you can go skiing. However, if you don't like skiing, these places are pretty awesome and picturesque, if I say so myself, and Maria would agree. And you can still visit them, have a wonderful time, eat lots of great food and drinks if you like. So let's look closer at some of these destinations suitable for winter in Greece. So Maria, you're up first.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the first destination we are covering today?
Okay, so first on the list, we're going to talk about the most popular ski destination and probably the most popular winter destination for all the Greeks, and that is Arachova.
Arachova. So do you want to kick us off with some of the key highlights of this area?
Absolutely. So as I said, it's a very popular destination. It is the most cosmopolitan Greek winter destination, and it's many times referred to as the Mykonos of the winter. And that's not an exaggeration.
I'd say it's quite a bougie location.
It's a very popular destination. It's bougie. You've got a lot of luxury hotels. There's a very intense nightlife as well.
Yes, if you're looking for the après ski.
Exactly.
go there.
So, but it despite that, it's still a wonderful location to go, even if you're not into like the bougie scene. So it's based in Viotia at the foot of Mount Parnassos, which offers a modern and the biggest downhill ski resort in Greece. There are 3 ski centres. It's approximately a 2 to 2.5 hour drive from Athens. The region consists of 7 villages, of course, with the most visited being the town of Arachova, which has a traditional character, is very picturesque. A lot of traditional restaurants nearby. The architecture is really cool. It's all like the majority is like stone built. Coffee shops and Kafeneio. So if you haven't heard the Greek Bitesize series edition of the Kafeneio, please make sure you head back and listen to it. And also one that's going to come out, an episode which will come out after this episode, which is the Zacharoplasteio, which is where you will get sweets to help you if you are to head here. Now, Arachova, as I said, is quite cosmopolitan, especially with the Athenians. So there is quite the nightlife scene, as we said, and some very good food options. And for those that would like to visit Arachova but not be, in the hustle and bustle, visit on a weekday. Avoid the weekend, so because it does get quite
and public
busy.
Holidays in winter.
Yes, exactly. And there are many high-end accommodation options because it's also very popular with celebrities. So you might bump into a Greek celebrity and not know, or you will know.
Well, yeah. And I had 2 things to add to what you said. Because there is nightlife. If you want to avoid loud music and stuff, you never know what it's going to be like in Greece. So maybe stay outside of the center and avoid what Maria and I happened to us when we went to an island and we were like in the middle of the club.
Yeah.
And
true.
then secondly, if you are looking to go skiing, because I have been, you can hire all the equipment in various places around Arachova. It goes without saying.
I think that goes to the majority of the ski destinations. That if you don't have your own equipment, you will be able to hire on the spot. But yeah.
So you said it's around 2.5 hours from Greece, but how else can people get there?
Not
from Athens, sorry, from Greece. Yeah, we're in Greece. Yeah, hello. From Athens. So how are people going to get there?
Okay, so the closest. So if we were to see what the closest airport is, it actually is Athens International Airport. The easiest way to get there is to drive, to have your own car and to drive, which is between 2 and 2.5 hours. However, if you don't want to drive, there is a bus from Athens, which is called Ktel. Now, we're going to mention Ktel, which is Ktel, which is the bus service in Greece. We're going to mention them throughout most of the destinations that we're going to talk about, but there's it depends on the direction that the Ktel is heading. So I'll leave all of these in the show notes so you know which one to click on and check out. With the bus, it's approximately 3 hours. But if you don't want to use the bus, there is a train service which goes to a town nearby, which is Livadia. And from there, you can take a bus to get to Arachova. So you do have options to get there if you don't want to drive. And of course, the option of a private transfer from Athens to Arachova always is on the table.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. But I think we're going to look at as well different activities that people can do whilst they're in the area and in the region, and probably having a car will help. So on that topic, what activities would you recommend?
So other than the skiing or snowboarding or any other, winter sport of that range, there are great hiking routes in Arachova, and there's also mountain tours. So, with a jeep or, the bikes, the enduro bikes, or a mountain bike. I would definitely do the jeep, the off-road, because I used to do that when I was living in Cyprus. I actually really enjoy off-road with jeeps, but I'm not sure I'd do the enduro or the mountain bike situation personally, but it does exist. Now, you've been skiing here, haven't you?
I have been skiing with my dad a few years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And what I really loved is that, it isn't all geared up to skiing. So yes, you can go from Arachova to the ski resort. We did like skiing lessons, but it sounded nicer than it was in terms of like, I haven't done skiing before, so I got easily bored. And what we did from the ski resort, we went all the way down to the coast in about maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. And I think you're going to touch on other points of interest. But what I really liked was that it was like freezing in the ski resort. And then we were down by a town called Itea, and it was February and it was like 18 degrees by the sea. So like we were having coffee outside in the sun, but you've gone from like winter Arctic conditions, not quite, but you know what I mean, to like being in a t-shirt. So I really like that. So what other points of interest have you got sort of highlighted to talk about?
Yeah, so as I said at the beginning, there are 7 villages in the region, 3 of which are actually, as you said, on the beachfront. So that's a great thing about the area, that you can be in the mountains skiing and then you can be down by the beach within a very short period of time. There's also a lot of, as all over Greece, there's a lot of Byzantine churches that are great to check out. And then within close proximity, you have Delphi, which is the religious center and symbol of unity of the ancient Greek world. And it's a very popular a tourist attraction. You have the town of Livadia, you have the town of Nafpachtos, and you also have Galaxidi. Now, Galaxidi is super popular during the Green Monday weekend. There's some quite crazy parties happening in Galaxidi during that time. I've never been personally because I'm not, I'm not someone to be in a big party scene. But apparently it's very fun and very popular. So as you can see, in general, Arachova can be a destination all year round, and it can be used as a base to visit many areas nearby.
Yep. Sounds like a good road trip from Athens. Like, you can combine it with a bit of Athens and a bit of road tripping, countryside, winter. Maybe be quite nice in the summer. I'm not sure how busy it is in the summer, but, I do like the winter vibes there because it was like, stone house.
I think it can be great in the summer because, especially for someone that doesn't like the heat, it means you can have a cooler. Cool. It will definitely be cooler, but then within close proximity, you can be on a beach. So it's I'd definitely try it out for.
Maybe we should try it.
Yeah,
but. On the topic of, you said it's going to be, people are going to eat very well and probably drink as well very well. So what can people expect from Arachova?
So due to the fact that it's so cosmopolitan and popular, it is very well known for its gourmet food experience. Now, like majority of the areas in the mountains in Greece, it is meat heavy. And, some dishes that are quite popular include traditional dishes like kontosouvli, kokoretsi, some traditional pies, trachana, which is usually made, it's made from wheat and it can be turned into a soup, and chilopites. Chilopites is like a type of pasta that they, like a thin sheet, but cut into small pieces, pasta that you can usually get with meat. There's a production, there is like a lot of textiles, woodwork, rugs specifically flocadi, which we refer to in Greece and Cyprus, which you can get in Arachova. And there's a protected designation of origin wine called Mavroudi, which is a dry wine, and a local cheese, I think called Formaella, which you can find. And then, of course, like again, most destinations in Greece across the board, you can find some traditional spoon sweets. So it's definitely a good place for those foodies.
Yes, and also on the meat thing, if you are going to order something, maybe have a look up what it is, because kokoretsi is an acquired taste.
It is.
And they'll let you look up what it is. I think it's made with intestines around, and it's like, I didn't know, I didn't like it. I just thought it was like a bit of meat, which it is, but not the part that I like to eat. Anyway, we're going to go up to the next one.
Yes, let's move on to the next
destination is Kalavryta, which is in the Peloponnese.
Amazing. So, George, give us some key highlights.
Okay, so Kalavryta lies on the foot of Mount Chelmos, traditional and picturesque. There is a theme. There's lots of traditional and picturesque villages. It's famous for although it's hard to say, even though I've got it written in front of me. Ododondos. It's a 22 kilometer.
Odondodos. Go say one.
Odondodos. There you go. I've even got it written out in Greek and English, and I still can't pronounce it. So sorry, guys. But it's a 22 kilometer railway track covering Kalavryta and Zacharoplasteio. And it with a tour around Vounaikos Gorge, and it's considered one of the most scenic routes in Greece. Have you been to it?
I've not been. No, I've not been. Unfortunately,
it looks stunning.
We definitely need to do that together, hun.
Yeah, would you be able to drone it while we're doing it, or is that too? No, that would be too.
Well,
fast,
I mean, the last time I attempted to drone you jumping off a boat, I killed the drone.
I know. Didn't go well, but I'm having visions of aerial shots, but it's probably going to be quite hard with like a train. But yeah, we can vision. Maybe we can do it with AI. I don't know. Anyway, so unfortunately, in 1943, the town was subjected to the murder of 1,500 males above the age of 14. So to honour the memory of those who lost their life, there is a memorial park, and a museum was built in that. So interesting place.
Yeah. There's a lot of history, I guess, in this region. So, George, tell us how to get there.
So, again, the closest airport is Athens International. However, there is an airport in Patras, but I think that only operates seasonally with flights during the summer months only. The easiest way is to drive from Athens, and I think it takes about 3 hours. As Maria mentioned, there's a bus, the Greek bus service KTEL, which runs from Athens via Aigio or Patras, or you can get your own private transfer. But again, because we're going to look at other things that you can do, I think the easiest thing is to drive and have a car.
Exactly. So let's touch on the activities that you can do there.
Okay, so first things first, the Kalavryta ski center. So if you are looking to do a bit of skiing, you can do that. However, there are lots of trek and hiking routes nearby. So take those walking boots. I would love to try that, especially in the winter, because yes, it gets cold in Greece, but it's not like, it's not going to be, well, it might be really, really cold, but you can wrap up. There's mountain biking, which I don't know how that sounds. Would you do that?
Personally, no, but I do have many friends that absolutely love it.
Okay.
So I get it.
Yeah. And then I'm going to try and pronounce that again. Odondos.
Odondodos.
Odondodos. See, yeah. And the tour around the Vounaikos Gorge, I think the cost is around €19 for a return trip and lasts for about an hour each way.
Yes.
And that definitely has to be on your list to do.
Absolutely. So let's talk about any other points of interest in the region.
Yeah, so we talk about the memorial that has been set up. There is also, interestingly, a Holocaust museum. So I would definitely check that out. The Helmos Observatory. Apparently, it has the second biggest telescope in Europe, which is pretty amazing. There's some monasteries. There's also something I would like to know, which I would like to do as well, is Cave of the Lakes. It's a 2 million year old cave. That is a cost to go in. It's around €9 for 40 minutes with a guide, which is epic. And then finally is the Bulumbasi waterfalls. There's so many names here. I'm stressed pronouncing these, even though I've got the pronunciation. But that is Bulumbasi waterfalls. So the road to reach here is not the best. Many do say in the reviews it's best to walk the last part of the road, and I'd probably be walking the whole road if I see that on a review. I'd be like, Maria, are you confident we're going to get this?
Yeah, I just want to add one thing on the monastery. So there's two monasteries nearby. It's Agia Lavra and Megaspileon. And both of these monasteries seem to have been destroyed or burnt multiple times. So worth a visit. The pictures look epic as well, and especially Agia Lavra Monastery apparently played a significant role during the 1821 War of Independence. Bear in mind, as like many religious sites across the world, there might be a dress code, so you might need to cover up, etc. Just to be respectful to these religious sites, which is something you get everywhere, I guess. So just bear that in mind if you plan to visit. Amazing.
So lots to do if you were to go to Kalavryta and the surrounding Peloponnese. You might even combine it with a little trip to Nafplio, which is in the Peloponnese, and check out our dedicated podcast episode to it.
Yes.
I could easily fill a week or two in winter.
Yes.
Should we move on, or?
I'm just checking how close Kalavryta is to Nafplio. 1 second.
Wow, it's in the Peloponnese. I don't know. It's probably going to be quite close, to be fair. 2 hours? I'm guessing 2. 2.5.
2 hours.
The windy road.
Well done.
2 hours. Ugh.
Well done, George.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
You didn't expect that wasn't in the notes to talk about. I just thought, could combine that quite well.
Well done.
So anyway, let's move on to the next one.
I'm very proud of you. Very impressed.
Thank you.
Moving on. So moving on, the next destination, which we're gonna talk quite a bit, is Metsovo. And
somewhere we were going to go to.
I mean, I've had it on my list for quite a few years now, because this destination touches on many of my passions. Now, if you have been following me, you'll probably know what they are. So it's food, wine, art, history, and philanthropy. So the destination is just so interesting. So shall we move on to find a bit more?
Yeah, I think you should give us some of the key highlights of Metsovo.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's located in the town of Ibirus, in the mountains of Pindos, or Pindos. I'm not sure how we would pronounce that in English. Now, it's also a very popular and lively town to visit during winter. Again, traditional village, very picturesque. Metsovo is the center of Greece's Vlach population, where a language with Latin origins plus Greek and Balkan elements is spoken. Now, this actually fascinates me, and I really, really want to do an episode on the Vlach population in Greece. I find it so fascinating. So if any of our listeners know anyone, get in touch.
Get in touch, because we would love to hear from them.
I really want to. I mean, if we don't head over and find someone ourselves, if anyone knows anyone prior to that, I'd love to interview them. Now, there's 2 names that are going to come up in the area of Metsovo, 2 very prominent families, and you will hear and see the names quite a lot. The first is Averov, which comes from 2 people, not just one. The first is Georgios Averov, who was a prominent businessman, philanthropist, was born in Metsovo, but moved to Alexandria where he accumulated a significant amount of wealth through his business ventures, and through his philanthropy and charity work. He donated a lot, not just to Metsovo, but actually to Greece. But looking specifically at Metsovo, he donated a lot and is one of the prominent figures that contributed towards the educational and infrastructure of Metsovo after it was destroyed in 1854. And then we also have Evangelos Averov. Now, from the same family, not son or grandson, I think he was a grandnephew of Georgios Averov, who his name is actually Evangelos Averos Dositsa. And the second name is not actually a family name. It's a name he decided to add on. And I'll talk about that in just a bit. And he invested in local vineyards. He created a contemporary winery. And he also donated his personal art collection and built a gallery for it. So we'll talk about that further on. Now, Dositsa.
It sounds Italian to me.
It possibly is.
Yeah.
I would need to look into it, which is another celebrated family to Metsovos. And the reason Evangelos took the name is because it was actually requested by Baron Michael Dositsa, because Evangelos Averov ran his foundation for 40 years. And because there was this thing that he wanted, the foundation to remain to a member of the family, Evangelos adopted the surname, which is very interesting. Now, Evangelos was actually a Greek politician and a member of parliament, in addition to everything else. So there's a lot of history going on with these 2 prominent families within the region, which is very evident if you visit. It's also a great ski destination, but you will visit here not just for ski, but for the local wine tradition, to see the art collection, and there's some fantastic gardens as well. It's a unique experience to engage with the locals, to take in the tradition, the architecture, the textiles, and also hear the language and or the dialect, as it's referred to, of that region.
So if people want to go there, how are they going to get there? Because it's quite far.
It is. So if we were to look at the closest airport is the airport of Ioannina, which does operate as an international airport, but has less flights during the winter. Although I think you can fly to Ioannina from Athens, so you could potentially, get an internal flight from Athens, and then from Ioannina, I think it's less than an hour.
It's for people that don't know. It's in the northwest of the country.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can fly to the airport of Thessaloniki, which does have international flights. It's a 2.5-hour drive from Thessaloniki, or a 5-hour train. Otherwise, you could go to Athens, and from Athens, it's about a 5-hour drive.
Long. And what other activities? Obviously, there's skiing. What else would you recommend?
So, other than skiing, again, you have trekking, hiking. There are some very popular trails. You have wine tasting, cheese tasting. So, the Dositsa family invested in cheesemakers. I think they brought some knowledge with them from Italy or something. So possibly it is an Italian surname, but they invested in the cheesemakers in the region. So there's a lot of cheeses that are produced. Some of them, like one is called Metsovo, which is a hard smoked cheese. Mezzovella, which is a semi-hard cheese. Graviera, which you get through nearly all of Greece, but every region has its uniqueness in the cheese. Galodiri, which is a soft cheese. And also another thing that I read, which you can do in the area, which sounds super interesting, you can go truffle hunting.
Ooh. I didn't know they produce truffles in Greece. I mean, I don't really know where they produce them.
I didn't know that either until I actually read it. So apparently they do.
Okay, lots of things for the cheese lovers. But what else? Because you mentioned at the start, like there's philanthropy, art, food, wine. So what else?
So
tickle our fancy.
Yeah, so other points of interest. So Averov Art Gallery, which I mentioned before, was a personal collection of Evangelos Averos, I think. It's actually considered, and I really want to go, it's actually considered one of the most important and extensive art gallery of the 19th and 20th century art collections.
Wow.
I'm not sure if that's limited to Greek art collections. I'd need to dig in a bit deeper, but I was looking at the picture and I was like, oh my God, I so want to go. Then you have something that has been on my list for years. There is the winery. It's called Kadogi Averov. And I've been wanting to go for so many years to this winery. And it also offers a hotel. You have the Averov Gardens, which were created by Georgios Averov, who effectively brought over a gardener from Alexandria to create them. And in the center of these gardens, you have a church of St. George. You have the Metsovo Folk Art Museum, which is housed in the original Dositsa family mansion, which was built in 1661, which actually shows the history of this prominent family. And then you have villages nearby, which are super cool to visit as well. For example, Anthochori and Anilio, which you can go and enjoy some very nice food.
I feel like we should ramp up the My Greek Island and do one winter and one summer destination, because this, like, we could find so many local heroes to like feature on this and actually really discover it. And not many people go to it, as we said. Well, Greeks do, but outside of Greece, we've got something here. But I think we're going to move on to our last one, and it's not the last of the destinations, because I think there's going to have to be a part 2.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm committing you to more again, but there's going to be a part 2. So last on the list is Karpenisi. Do you have anything to say?
So
about
Karpenisi.
Karpenisi?
Yeah, so Karpenisi is the first destination that I attempted to go skiing, and probably the last attempt. So I went
First and last.
first and last. I attempted to go skiing. Must have been about 12 years ago now, in Karpenisi. I got there. There was no snow, so there was no.
I'm hoping there's
skiing.
snow this year for like the winter destinations
Yeah.
because it's quite warm at the moment.
But I ended up eating, walking around,
Standard
discovering.
Maria practice,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So it was pretty great. But anyway, give us some key highlights, George.
Okay, so first off, the ski resort. So Veluhi Ski Center to ski or snowboard. There's many parks. There is also a theme park nearby. So I think that could be quite great for your nephews
Yes.
and kids generally.
Yeah.
Saying it again, picturesque and traditional villages, but with many great places. Well, it's not a but, with many great places to eat and for coffee. So make sure, as we've said, the Kafeneio episode and the Zacharoplasteio episode, lots of hotel options, and some here do have spa facilities. So I'm definitely feeling like chillaxing in a robe.
Yeah, it's
in the
actually,
winter
there's actually
and
and I've actually stayed at this hotel. There's one very famous and very old historic hotel, which is, it's quite big as well. And it's got these mountain vibes, and it's got a spa.
Oh, yes.
I remember when I stayed there back in the day, because there was no skiing. I even remember we were playing like table tennis. It's quite a famous hotel for the region because it's very historic as well.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
but anyway,
We'll let people look that up unless the hotel is listening and wants to sponsor us, and then we'll talk about them.
So how do we get there, George?
So the closest airport again is Athens, which is around a 3.5 hour drive, or if you go to Thessaloniki, it's around a 4.5 hour drive. You can take a train from Athens, which is approximately 3 hours, and then a taxi. And there is the option of the bus, so KTEL, or a private transfer. But I think, again, due to the nature of things, I'm going to say a car.
You're going to
is
want a
probably
car.
the best.
Yes, I'm also going to add, though, it's actually the closest airport is actually Padra. But as you mentioned previously, it doesn't function all year round. It's a seasonal
Yes.
airport, so just bear that in mind. And I think that actually if my mind is not playing games on me, the airport in Padra is actually called Achteon. So that's the name of the airport in case anyone wants to look it up.
Yeah.
So moving on, what activities can someone do?
Other than the skiing, mountain tours is a theme about all these mountain tours. So with a jeep or mountain bikes on Mount Galyakuda, again trekking and hiking routes, which very nice. And there is another gorge, and this gorge is called Pandavrechi, which means it's always raining in Greek. And I'm guessing that's because it's always got waterfalls coming down, like there's water coming down.
I think that you have to go at specific times, but there is a few waterfalls in this gorge.
The gorge, yeah.
Yeah, but make sure that you ask, because the road is quite a tough one from what I've read.
Yes.
I've not been
and take
personally.
extra clothes if you're going to get wet.
Yeah. Many people have mentioned that you get wet as well. So like you can't avoid getting wet. So have a spare pair of clothes. Excellent. So other points of interest.
Yes. So this other points of interest mainly features churches and monasteries. So the Holy Trinity Metropolitan Church, Panagia Prousiotissa Monastery, which is around a 40-minute drive, and it's widely regarded as a miracle worker. There's a There's a monastery in the village of Vrachas. And what else? Mikro and Megalo Chorio, which means big and small villages. So they're two villages in very, very close proximity with great food options and a folk art museum to visit, which would be right up Maria Street. And then in the main square, there's the statues of Andonis Katsadonis and Marcos Botsaris, which were the heroes of the Greek Revolution of 1821, which we should do an episode on, which we'll probably do when it comes round to the celebration of Greek Independence Day. I'm committing myself to that.
Yeah, I'm going to give you another monologue episode, I think.
Oh, yes, if this one goes well. So
Anyway.
Lots of monasteries and churches if you're interested.
Yeah, when you say this one, he's referring to the episode that we
coming out.
it will have been out by the time this episode comes out,
it will.
George.
It's out
actually
today
going
as
out
we
today.
record.
Yes, it's going out on the day we're recording this episode. So the episode is about the 28th of October. So I gave George full autonomy to prepare a short and sweet historic episode on the significance of the 28th of October. So that would be coming, or that will have come out by the time you listen to this episode. But yeah, maybe I should give him, if you like that episode, get in touch. So then maybe I should give George more little solo monologue episodes to do, because I think he really, I love the way he sort of sums up historic events. So last thing on the list, which is food and drink and local productions of the area.
Once again, very meat heavy, and with some well-known meats being the Evritania sausages. They sometimes contain leek in them, and there is also an organic prosciutto from the region, and it has been awarded internationally for a gastronomic competition in Sicily, I think. Have you tried that one, Maria?
No, I haven't.
We should try it. Cheeses, so feta, zalaforti, which is a soft Greek spreadable cheese. There's aged kaseri, which I think kaseri is a harder cheese, I think.
It is.
You can get spicy and aromatic, and there's more. And also in the area has lots of bush berries, so mulberries, houndberries, raspberries. So they make spoon sweets from them, and we talk about spoon sweets a lot. So it's a glikotu koutaliou. They also make jams, but they also make something that's similar to tsipuro, but from the berries, which is called muro.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have trachana. Also, you can get mountain tea, which my stepdad is obsessed with. I know you love mountain tea.
Yeah, I do.
It's very well known for its like anti-inflammatory features all around, what teas are like. But this one is just extra because it's Greek. And finally, flower and forest honey. So honey, great. Goes amazingly with, I know you're not asking for this, but with like Greek yogurt and like a bit of like granola. Absolutely winner for the summer and any breakfast when you're in Greece.
Okay.
And I think
foodie of the two of us.
Yes,
yeah,
and I think that's the end of the 4 destinations. We did actually have, Maria had planned more, but we were like, we need to do a second episode.
Yeah, it was getting too much, so we thought we'd break it into 2.
Yes.
Yeah, so as you see, my Greek Islanders, this is just a taste of the great places you can visit in winter in Greece to ski or not. I mean, great if you want to go to ski, but there are more things to do other than that. Now, as George said, there were so many other places that we wanted to talk about, and I had initially added to this list, but clearly the episode would have been an hour and a half long if we did that. So we promise that we will come back with a part 2 with some other destinations as well. But for now, I think we can wrap this one up. What do you think, George?
I think we can. I hope we've given you food for thought about Greece in the winter, because I think it is a very underrated destination, Greece in the winter, other than the cities.
I agree.
So something to really be off the beaten track, meeting locals and seeing how Greeks do winter. So as we do with every episode, before we go, we're going to give you, our listeners, a phrase for this episode. And for this one, I thought of having something along the lines of, let's go skiing in the mountains. Now, if you don't want to go skiing in the mountains, you're just going to have to use this phrase, because that's the only one we've prepared. So
that's all you're getting.
That's all you're getting. I'm joking. So let's go skiing in the mountains is Πάμε, which you should know from all our bite-sized episodes. So Πάμε για σκι στα βουνά. It's actually a question. Πάμε για σκι στα βουνά. Let's go to the mountains skiing, ? And you might say ναι, yes, or no, όχι, which is not going to be an option, because even if you don't like skiing, you're going to go and you're going to see everything else that we've mentioned. So I think that's it.
You're just going to take our top tips and go anyway.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Anyway, amazing. So thank you everyone for listening. If you do visit any of these destinations, please get in touch, DM us, let us know what you loved. And yes, until then, we will see you on the next episode.
And don't forget that Greece is made up 80% of mountains.
Exactly.
So yeah, until the next episode, see you then. Yassas.
Yassas.
Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta leme.